Are you a 1DX Mark II owner and you're tired of spending too much money on Cfast cards? Well, I might have the solution for you. It's kind of spread out across my entire desk. Real quick before we jump into the rest of this video, I do want to announce that I am currently in the middle of my holiday giveaway, giving away over $2,000 worth of free gear, which include the Hybrid Pro filter from Sandmark, the Soonwell top battery handle, a 1-year subscription to MusicBed, and a 180 watt light courtesy of D&O Lighting. If you want the chance to win all of this free gear, make sure you check out the links down below in the description so that way you can know all the details that you need in order to win this awesome gear. Check out that video right after you finish watching this. What's good, creative fan? Brandon Washington here, and right now I just finished installing this guy here, which is the NKI Solidpod X1C. Yeah, X1C. And this is basically a Cfast dummy reader to SATA SSD reader. Yeah, I think that sounds right? Basically what this thing allows you to do is to trick your 1DX Mark II to thinking that it is writing to this card here, which as I mentioned before, is a dummy Cfast 2 card, and actually allow it to write the data to that SATA drive. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, the biggest reason is price. A Cfast card is going to run you around $700 for a 512 gigabyte. However, if you were to pick up a 500 gigabyte SATA SSD drive, those are only going to run you $100. So that is a $600 savings per card. Now, as great as this thing is, it doesn't come easy. Now, whenever you actually are going to install this into your camera, there is a little bit of work that has to be done. In fact, you actually have to mod your camera ever so slightly. So what do I mean by you have to mod your camera? Well, you'll be able to tell by this big hunkin' chunk of metal / plastic right here on the top. See, in order for this thing to work, you actually have to mod the door so that it'll actually stay open a little bit wider in order to allow room for this cable to be installed. So as you can see here, I will grab my dummy Cfast 2 slot, I'll add that in, and then I will kind of thread my wire through this little hole. And now the door, or at least the camera, assumes that the door is shut. And now it is actually going to read this guy as the Cfast card. Now, as you can see, I'm actually running the cable out of the dummy Cfast 2, and that will actually run all the way into this SATA 2 drive here. And with 1 terabyte, I will get a ton of storage, and I'll be able to film for a really, really long time. Now, I have a 1 terabyte in here, but as I mentioned before, you can buy these in 500 gigs that start at $100, and then you can get these as 2 terabytes, 1 terabyte, whatever you like, but they're significantly cheaper than buying real Cfast cards. Now, what are some of the pros and cons of this thing? Well, obviously, the biggest pro is the price savings, but it comes with quite a few cons. The first con is that you actually have to modify your entire camera. Now, I modified this entire thing, and it took me about 30 minutes, and I would not say that I'm really good at it. It comes with all the tools you need, like this little screwdriver here, which honestly, I mean, if you have a magnetized version of this, definitely use that, because this screwdriver, in my opinion, wasn't that great. But it comes with every little piece that you need in order to make this work. And even as someone like myself, who is a novice at this whole thing, I was able to get this to work on the first try. The biggest thing you have to do, and the hardest part, is you have to replace the hook on your door. Now, it does send you a new hook. Your original hook, you're not going to use it anymore, but you can, I recommend, keeping it just in case you ever want to put your camera back to its original state. But that's obviously one of the biggest cons, is that you actually have to modify the camera. The other biggest con, and something that after talking with some of my other friends who are 1DX Mark II owners, is that obviously in this configuration here, this is not gimbal friendly. Obviously, the 1DX Mark II is already a big camera, and it isn't the easiest thing to actually like put together on a gimbal and to balance it, or to find the right gimbal that can actually support that kind of weight. But then you add this guy to the top, which is, it already has a weird top heavy kind of build. I don't see this balancing on something like the Ronin S very easily. Now, if you are going to be using this with like a Movi Pro or the Ronin 2, maybe the original Ronin, that could work. But I will say that, you know, if you're going to try to balance this on something like the Ronin S, you're going to run into some issues. Now, on the pro side of this thing, whenever you buy the 1XC, they do have these little slots. So one of the issues that I initially thought was that, well, if I have an SSD in here and then this one gets full, how difficult is it going to be for me to be able to have multiple of these things? And they do come with these different cases, and they have this whole little quick swap solution. So I could easily, and I'm going to just turn off the camera before I do this, but I could easily just unscrew this guy here and then actually pop out this SSD. And so you can see the SSD is right here, and I could easily pop this one out and then have another one on backup right here. I could unscrew this one, take this out, quickly swap that one in, and then my full one I could store here for safekeeping. And this is really, really cool because, I mean, obviously the SSDs are gonna be a more solid solution when it comes to using data, and obviously they're also gonna be faster, especially when you're trying to like transfer data over to your computer. Speaking of transferring data over to your computer, they also have this guy here, which is the Solidpod reader. So this is how you're gonna actually be able to connect this to your computer. And it's quite simple. I mean, this is it here. So just like with this quick release system here to be able to take your SSDs in and out, you actually have a quick release system here as well. So, I mean, it's not really that quick because you gotta unscrew this thing, but you can slide this out and then slide your SSD into this guy here, screw it into place, and then it has a USB-C port here in order to transfer that really, really quickly. Now, another one of the biggest cons with this setup is kind of the cable management. So as you can see right now, I actually have that cable that's coming out of here that's basically reading all the data from the camera to what will be the SSD, and this cable just kind of gets in the way. They sent me an actual breakdown for this, and as of right now, legit, their solution is just to gaff tape everything out of the way, which isn't gonna give you the best looking system, but for the price savings that you save on the Cfast cards, it might be worth it just to use a little gaff tape with these cables, you know, in order to get them out of the way. But with that being said, if you are going to be using gaff tape, you might notice that the only reason why this cable comes out is because the door is slightly open, which brings up another really, really good point. The 1DX Mark II is a pro body, and one of the big features is the fact that this camera is weather sealed. A lot of people are already going to ask, well, if you have the door slightly open, even with this little rubberized gasket that they send you in order to go here, is the camera still weather sealed? And I would honestly say no, the camera is not weather sealed at this point. And if you are going to be using this and you have to be, you know, in harsh environments, I would not trust this to work in the rain or the snow or really in high humidity. I mean, it's really not suited for that type of use with this existing system. Now, this little rubberized gasket is something that they could easily update in the future and make a better version of. But as of right now, as the way this one here is designed, I would not recommend using this out in the field if you're gonna be in harsh weather conditions. Now, although this thing does have a couple cons going for it, one other really cool pro that this thing does have is that on the top of it, it actually has a built-in hot shoe. Now, a lot of times when you use adapters like this that actually plug into your hot shoe, normally you'll get like a cold shoe up here. And basically the difference is that like if you use this with any accessories that need it, like a trigger or a flash, they don't normally work. It's normally just there to hold those accessories. But this one actually still works. So if you are using this system and maybe you want to use it with photography because you're taking loads of photos, but you're using an off-camera flash or you're using some type of on-camera flash even, you can still attach that to this guy and it will completely still work. It has all the pins that it needs, so you're gonna be fine even using this thing as a hot shoe. You know, after taking the time to basically put this whole thing together and kind of mod out the camera in order to get it to work with this system, it really got me thinking, like, who is this system really for? Like, who could really take advantage of this? And really, it only comes down to, it just really depends on what you're filming, honestly. I mean, if you're the type of person that is using your 1DX Mark II on a tripod primarily, or you're a documentary filmmaker and you're someone who's gonna be out trying to capture as much footage as you possibly can, and you don't have time to deal with swapping out Cfast cards or having to run to a computer in order to dump Cfast cards in order to keep additional space free, then I strongly recommend that, yes, this is a really, really good system. However, if you are someone who's more of a run and gun style shooter, you know, filmmaker, photographer, and you're gonna be in harsh environments and you don't have time to really set this up the way it needs to be set up, then no, this is not the system for you. However, I will say this might be a great piece just to add to your 1DX Mark II kit for those situations. This entire mod that I did to the camera in order to actually get this thing to work can be undone. Like, you don't have to leave it like this. Like, once you do it, it's not set in stone. So you can always basically revert your 1DX Mark II back to its original state. So for that, I mean, I have to say that, you know, it's not really a bad solution. It's not something that I could say like, hey, you should stay away from it. I mean, I think anyone who has a 1DX Mark II and they are shooting a lot of video and they're ever running into issues where they either don't have enough storage because they don't want to spend a lot of money on Cfast cards, or they're shooting long videos in 4K, where we all know with the 1DX Mark II, it is a 4K consumer. Then I would say strongly recommend picking up one of these for shooting things like interviews, so you don't feel like you're wasting a ton of money on Cfast cards and wasting a lot of storage as well. So NKI was also really awesome, not only sending me this guy out, but they also said that I could do a giveaway. So I'm gonna be giving away one of these guys. Now again, this only works for the 1DX Mark II. So if you have one of these, leave a comment down below in the description letting me know how long have you had it, and if you had this thing, what type of footage you would be shooting with it. But I would really like to know, like, what do you guys think about this system? If you think it's worth it, if you think it's interesting, if you think some of the cons of this thing is worth the price savings that you'll get when it comes to using a Cfast card versus an SSD like this, I'd really like to know you guys' input. But that's all I have for you guys. Thanks so much for checking out this video. Try to win one of these things, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.